I was around the age of 7 or 8 when I first thought that I was fat. And not because anybody said it, not because somebody told me I needed to lose weight or that I was fat. It was what I was making things mean. It was recognizing that I wasn't being praised for being tall and skinny like my cousin. It was picking up on little cues from my mom and my aunt and my grandma, things about food and body image and what it meant to be loved and accepted. And I was making all of this mean I am not enough. And so, even as a young kid, picking up and having this awareness around food and my body, it led to years of really disordered eating habits. I would say I didn't really diet until I was about 16 years old. And that first diet, it was more of like, well, I just need to eat less and exercise more. So I started being more mindful of what I was eating. I started running a little bit more and I lost some weight. And I didn't really have a lot of weight to lose, but I lost 20 pounds and was probably a little more underweight. And I was kind of caught in this cycle of being underweight, then overweight. And after the first couple diets throughout my junior and then senior year of high school, where it seemed like I could drop the weight kind of quickly, I would then regain the weight. And that always felt so frustrating. It was like, why can't I keep the weight off? Why do I have increased hunger? Why do I have increased desire? Why can't I just like keep, have more willpower and stick with it? And even as I got into college, I kept wondering, like, I'm not doing anything that much different. Like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? And I kept thinking things like, well, I just have to eat less. I just have to keto harder. I just have to low carb harder and run more. And so I was caught trying to run 5, 6, sometimes 8 or 10 miles a day, and then eat low carb, low fat, low calorie. And it was just this recipe for disaster. And so by the time I was 18, I was really caught in this restrict, binge, regret cycle. I would try to restrict throughout the day. In fact, some days I could be really good. I could be so good in sticking to my diet. But then the afternoon would roll around, the evening would come, and then I was binging and off the rails, only to wake up the next morning with so much shame, so much regret, and more commitment to, I just need to try harder. And this went from about the time of 18 through my early 30s. It was a solid 14 years of this diet roller coaster from hell, where I was relying on just trying to eat less and exercise more. I even signed up for a marathon in Russia because I had a thought. If I could just run this much, with that much running, I was bound to lose weight. I didn't. I think I maybe lost a pound, if that. And I really, as I look back on pictures, I was carrying maybe an extra 10 pounds, 10 or 12 pounds. It wasn't even that much weight, but it didn't matter how much physical weight I was carrying, how much extra I had on, because it usually was only 10, 20 pounds. But it was the mental and emotional weight that I carried. It was this constant obsession with food and what was I eating and when was I eating and when were we eating next and was I eating a little enough? It was this obsession with like having these cravings and just trying to fight and willpower and resist and just say no. It was this obsession and this need to exercise and run every single day for years and years and years, even when I was injured, even when I was traveling, even when I was on vacation. It was really an unhealthy obsession because I was just trying to lose weight. I just wanted to be thin enough. I just wanted to be pretty. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be seen as being enough because it's never just about the weight. The weight is one piece, but often it's what we think we'll be able to do. It's how we think we're going to feel after we've lost the weight. And as my weight would go up and down and up and down, I was terrified. Even when I had lost the weight, I was terrified of regaining again. And so I just lived in this constant diet hell, constant restriction, yet feeling powerless and helpless when it came to cravings and binging. And all I wanted was to be a normal eater. And so in 2017, my early 30s, I finally had this wake up call and this realization of what I'm doing isn't working. I don't feel like a normal eater. I feel very out of control. I have all of this mind drama and constant thoughts about food where I can't relax around it. I don't feel at peace and at ease around it. And this just doesn't feel normal. This doesn't feel right. And as I thought back, I wasn't like that as a kid. I wasn't like that. Even though I had thoughts about my body and I had thoughts about, was I thin enough? Was I pretty enough? Do the boys like me? There were these normal thoughts that would come up in middle school, but I didn't have this constant obsession and this heavy weight that I was carrying. And so I set out to figure out how to really solve this. And I tried courses and programs and coaching and memberships, and I did a lot of things that didn't work. They didn't help me at the time. They may have helped other people, but they weren't the right fit for me. And it took a lot of trial and error to figure out what was actually going to work, what was going to help me. And what I realized was I needed to heal two things. I needed to heal my diet trauma and all of the pain and the heartache that went around food and body and regaining weight and all of my failed attempts to try to lose weight, all of the mental, emotional bandwidth that was just kind of wrapped up in this pain story, this hardship story. I had to redefine how I saw myself and no longer basing my worth and my value off of my body and the size of my shape. And I also had to heal my relationship trauma. As I got into my mid 30s, I started to wake up to the emotional, verbal, and sometimes spiritual abuse that I had grown up with, that I was experiencing in romantic relationships, in my marriage, and even being out of that marriage that I then would experience in the dating world. And these all go hand in hand because at the end of the day, it's not about the food rules. It's not about just trying to be perfect. It's not about eat this, not that. We really overcomplicate the process because we don't trust ourselves. And the core problem is that we keep looking for someone or something to meet our emotional needs. That is the basis of our emotional eating or binge eating habit. That is the basis of why we get into toxic relationships, and it's why we stay there. It's why we can see the red flags and yet we can't walk away. We feel like a moth to a flame, like we're just drawn in like this magnet, and it takes so much energy to try to pull it apart. And it's because this other person is meeting emotional needs for you. They're meeting core wounds that you experienced as a child, as a young teenager. Just like food and sometimes alcohol can meet your emotional needs. It's a way to escape. It's a way to numb the pain. It's a way to make life not feel so bad, feel so heavy. But the problem is that food becomes such a primary source of our joy, pleasure, comfort, or relaxation. And instead, rather than creating this diet plan that we inevitably need a break from, we need to create a sustainable process that you can do for the rest of your life without hating your life. A process and a plan that works with you, that evolves and grows with you step by step, little by little, in a way where you can lose the weight and keep it off with ease because it's something you can do long term. You're not giving up your favorite foods, you're not giving up your favorite drinks. And because you're not having to restrict what you're eating, you also don't have to restrict the lifestyle aspect. You can still go out to eat, you can still go on vacation, and you can lose weight, which is what I just did. I went to the beach for less than a week, and in a week's time, I lost 4 pounds. This happens without giving up anything, without having to feel restricted, without having to say, no, I can't. No, I'm on a diet. No, I have to like constantly obsess and worry about food. It's so much easier, but we have to heal the diet trauma. We have to heal the internal trauma that we've experienced. We have to really transform our self-concept and how we see ourselves because a smaller body does not fix a broken self-concept. And that's what we keep trying to do. We keep trying to lose weight and into a smaller size, have a smaller body, hoping it's going to make us think and feel better about ourselves. And sometimes, for a short term, it does. Sometimes we momentarily do lose some weight. Sometimes it does change how we think and feel about ourselves. But inevitably, the self-loathing, the criticism, the shame, it always comes back around. And you can never lose enough weight to outrun that constant self-criticism, those narky voices that are now in your own head. And I want to help you break free. I want to help you break the cycle so that you are no longer turning to food to meet your emotional needs. You're no longer turning to alcohol. You're no longer turning to another person to meet needs, to meet the praise and validation and feeling good enough for yourself. You now learn how to insource all of that. I'm going to teach you how to meet all of your own needs so that you don't need to escape, right? I want to help you create a life you don't need an escape from. And we're going to do this piece by piece, little by little, step by step, and I'm going to walk you through every step of the way. I'm going to help you to build your self-trust in yourself, with your body, around food, so that you can feel at peace and at ease and control, so that you can truly let go of all of the mind drama, all of the food noise becomes something of the past. It doesn't impact you at all anymore. You can go travel, you can go on vacation, you can go try new restaurants, try new drinks, have new experiences. And it's not wrapped up. You're not worried about counting calories, points, or macros. And binging and emotional eating, that also becomes something of the past. Because when you change who you are and how you think and how you see yourself internally, those outward habits are just a natural manifestation of that internal change. But we got to change inward. We have spent years, decades, we've spent decades really trying to change our external body from a place of shame and punishment and self-loathing. And it's not going to work. It hasn't worked up until this point, and I promise you it's not going to work now. What we need to do is flip that on its head, and we need to start internal. And I'm going to show you and I'm going to teach you the small, simple habits to create long-term sustainable weight loss, no matter how old you are, no matter what phase of life you're in, no matter what is going on in your life with different circumstances and changes and transitions with moving and jobs and marriage and divorce and grief and death and just wrestling with all of these aspects of life. I'm going to teach you how to lose weight in a real life situation so that you can maintain it in that real life that you have that's full of love and joy and pleasure and excitement. And I promise, when you have a life that is full of those things, you don't need to seek it in the bottom of a bag of chips. You don't need to seek it at the bottom of a pint of ice cream because your life is filling you up. So, yeah, you're hungry. I guarantee that. But you are hungry for love. You are hungry for praise, for validation, to finally feel good enough. And I'm going to help you do that. I'm going to help you create the life and the body you crave. And this is going to be a little bit different than anything you've ever done. We're going to have to deprogram. We're going to have to do some cult deprogramming and break free from this diet cult. We're going to have to learn how to unbrainwash yourself. But that's my specialty. That's where I can help. This is my zone of genius. And I've got you because I've been there and I've done the work and I've now helped dozens and dozens of clients do the same thing. So whether you want to lose 10 pounds or 100 pounds, the process is still the same. And I got you. Your next best step is to schedule a free consultation. Click the link below and let's chat. Y'all ready? This is your time. Let's go.